yes, I'm starting at the creation station again. 2 weeks off. Well, yeah, a couple weeks off for taking care of some family, but I forgot how to set up my. No big. I need to get through. We're going to start with everything ready to roll here. For today's recipe, I chose to go with some sirloin steak. Sirloin's a nice steak. It's a little bit of marbling, just enough to keep it flavorful, but we don't want any of the real heavy extra fat in there because that could make the texture a little too chewy. So we're going to start by trimming off the major chunks of fat in this steak. This is definitely a lot easier with a very sharp knife. I would always recommend having a good sharp knife anytime you want to trim meat. It does make your life a lot easier. Maintaining your sharp knives is essential to their longevity and will make your life a little bit easier when working in the kitchen. Now, I'm obviously going to do the best I can here to take off as little actual meat as possible. However, there will always be a little bit that gets wasted, I guess, for lack of a better term. We just try to keep that to a minimum. We're going to work our way through section by section, and while I am working on this, I already have my vegetable oil in the pan on the stove coming up to a medium heat. Again, my stovetop is a 1 through 10. I have my oil set on 6. If you have an actual temperature gauge, you want to have your oil around 350 to 360 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going on at great length about something here, which I believe I said I'm going to do a little bit of a montage for the rest of this section. So let's hit that montage. Now that we have trimmed the fat, we are ready to cut our beef into appropriate size chunks for our nuggets slash cow wings. You want to have chunks that are about bite size. Think about the size of a chicken nugget you get at a specific fast food place. That's about the size you want to go for, give or take. Now, over time, if you do this more than once or twice, you'll get a good idea of what size will work best for your application. Whether it's for the kids, for the adults, for a mix, you'll get the idea what size is going to work. I kept mine approximately nugget sized, saying nugget in air quotes that you can't see, so I have to tell you about it, for this little experiment, and it actually worked very well. Since it is in the past, I'm already aware that everybody that tried them was very happy with them and has asked me to make them again. They're tasty. What can we say? Kids like them, adults like them. Everybody thinks they're pretty darn awesome. Now, as you'll notice, there's some fatty sections in the middle here. I decided not to just hack around those. I figured I would cut my way through as I was cutting them up. So you'll see I'm actually cutting my chunks around these sections right now. Any of the fat chunks that you take off your steak, yes, there are things that can be done with it. Unfortunately, as we're all on a diet here per Mrs. Cool Dad, they're gotten rid of. I was debating actually using them to supplement the food for the dogs. However, that got vetoed as well. Poor kids. Nah, they do just fine. So as you see, our sharp knife is making quick work of this steak. And we're getting our nice nugget-sized chunks here. And again, nuggets has air quotes. Don't want to get in trouble for that one. And while this is going, I have a couple times off camera checked the readiness of my oil, and that is just about ready to go. Once I'm done with the cutting, I should be ready to bread these and get them right in the oil and start them cooking. That was just fat. Now, if you like to have fatty chunks of meat to chew on, please feel free. I am by no means the be-all, end-all for how meat or any food should be prepared, because everybody's a little bit different. You prepare it in a way that works best for you and your family, and friends, and whoever else you're feeding. Almost there. Just a little more to go, and we'll have these chunks ready to roll. And as I sit here talking about it, my mouth is watering a bit because I remember just how good they were. Because they're all gone. They disappeared so quickly. That's always a good sign around here. So I keep it fairly consistent, but a little bit of variety in the size is not a bad thing. There's no need to be OCD about it. I have no idea what I was air quoting there, so we'll just take a wild stab in the dark and say I was air quoting nuggets, as I have been here. So you finally saw the air quotes. And yes, I do know what I did wrong with my audio. It has already been taken care of, and next week we'll finally be back to something resembling normal again. We'll get this last chunk cut up, and we'll get ready to move on to the next step. Now today I was smart enough to get ahead of the game a little bit and have some things ready beforehand. As far as the breading I'll be using, I always like to start with a base of seasoned panko style breadcrumbs. That's a personal preference. I find that the panko style crumbs give a little bit better crisp and crunch when you deep fry things. And again, it's a personal preference. You may have a certain type of breadcrumb that you prefer. In the bowl in the middle, I have eggs that have been just whipped by themselves, and at the end I have a bowl of all-purpose flour. The goal here is to take our beef nugget, dip it in the flour, dip it in the egg, dip it in the breading, and do my traditional press, as I find it gives a much better coating, and it kind of applies a little pre-cooking tenderization to the meat as well. If you are so inclined, you can always do flour, egg, breading, or flour, egg, breading. You will see that sequence in one of my upcoming videos that I'm working on, but we'll get to that when it's time. There's any number of different ways you can actually do this. But as you see, we're going from the flour to the egg, into the breading, cover it, and again, I personally like to do the squish when I am breading. There's nothing saying you have to. It's a personal preference. I like the way it makes them come out. Once we're done with that, I'm going to make sure I'm fully covered here. A nicely breaded beef nugget. Pop that right in the oil. You can see that start cooking right up. Now, on the far side, right there, you can see I have a cookie sheet with a piece of parchment paper on it and a wire cookie tray. I have learned over the last year that, like so many people, I would take things out of my frying oil, put them on a plate with paper towel on it. The drawback to that is that your fried items are now sitting in that oil that's falling off them until you take them off of it. Sitting on the rack over the tray gives them a way to lose the excess oil, without sitting in it. Now, cooking is going to take a couple of minutes. You generally, as a general rule, want to let it cook until it's floating easily. I find that anywhere from a minute and a half to 2 minutes is about right for these. As you go on, though, remember, the temperature of your oil will drop off a little bit the more you cook with it, so it might take a little bit longer. We're back to the center now, and we're going to start a montage to get through the rest of these, and then we'll come back and show you what we did. Okay, since we've gotten everything in the pan, I want to show you what we've done so far. These were our nuggets so far. The last batch is in there frying up as we speak. And we're going to do a little bit of cleanup so that we can finish up. And I figure at this time I should have stock in Clorox by now over the amount of bleach spray that I buy and use in my kitchen. I don't, but I should. Note to self, buy stock in Clorox as soon as I make it big. Now, here is what we've got so far. These are our beef nuggets. They are nice and crispy on the outside. It smells amazing in here. And as far as the breading goes, I start with the base of the panko. I add a little bit of flour and whatever seasonings I feel will be appropriate as far as the protein that I'm coating with them. Be it chicken, and again, chicken tenders versus chicken parm, you change up your breading a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a customized breading mixture. I have in the past experimented with a little bit of baking powder in there just as a binder, but honestly I think just the flour, the seasoning, the breadcrumb makes a really good mixture. As you can see below the wire rack there, where the oil has dripped off of the beef nuggets, they are now not sitting in it, as I stated previously, and kind of bathing in it. I'm going to make some adjustments here so I've got room to put the last few on. Thank God for bleach spray. I need to buy stock in Clorox still. At this time I still haven't. That's coming. But we're going to shuffle them around a little bit, make some room for the last ones, and get ready to take the last couple out of the pan. Some color variation is natural, as the temperature of the oil will drop off a little bit as you go. That's not a bad thing. Just basically experience will help you learn when they are cooked all the way. I shake off the excess oil when I'm bringing them out. I'm going to flip that one a little bit. And you'll notice your oil level in your pan will drop down as you do batches, because some of the oil does come out of the pan with the food. Again, why we're letting it cool on the wire rack. Let as much of that excess oil drip off as possible. Okay, they are all done. I'm going to turn off the heat, get my pan off of the hot burner so it can cool off a little bit quicker. And we're going to take a moment, come up top, and we'll go over what we've got here. See you up top. Okay guys, what you're going to see right here is the actual video that I recorded when I made this amazing little piece of amazingness. They're so damn tasty. The only side note I would add to this is that these came out right around medium, on the lower end of medium. They're nice and pink in the middle. Not red, not bleeding, none of that, but nice pink in the middle. If you're okay with that, run with it. If you perhaps want them a little more cooked, I would recommend, which the kids liked them better cooked. So I heated my oven to 350, popped them in for 15 minutes. Perfect. The drawback to cooking them further in the oil is that oil will burn the outside before it cooks the inside. Nature of the beast. It is possible to lower your oil temperature, but you get more of an oil saturation issue, and unless you're like chewing on grease pills is your thing, it's not as good. So when they're done, pop them in the oven 15 minutes, 350 Fahrenheit, and nice on the right between medium well and well. There's just a touch of pink, but not enough to put people off that prefer well done. Overall, this was an excellent project. Thank you again to Toxic Roach on TikTok. Dude, the idea was amazing. Fantastic. Yes. Much yes. Again, please check out the website, cookingwiththecooldad.com. We've got a merch store now. There's a few things there that will be growing over time. Rock your Cool Dad merch. Don't worry, my ugly mug is not on it yet. Had somebody ask about that. I haven't decided to go there yet. So until then, we've got a t-shirt, apron, and a water bottle right now. There will be more coming when I have time to sit down and work on the designs. So I think that's all the good news. Now, the nice thing about these beef nuggets is they're fairly simple finger foods. They're good for anytime you want something that's easy to eat. You know, if you're having a couple of different items to put out on a table for a get-together, for, you know, having some other kids over with your kids, for having friends over for the game, just a general get-together. I mean, there's just so many places these can go good. And finger foods are very good for conversational settings because there's something casual about it that keeps the conversation less formal, more casual. Go figure. But I think that allows conversations to flow better and get better times out of it, for lack of a better word, I guess. I'm stretching here, and I admit that, but I know what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to say it for you guys. I know that in this video here, I said it right the first time, but the best I can say is things like this are why we say food is life, life is good, let's eat some more, because they are simple and casual and very inducing of good conversation between people, because there's nothing that says community like sharing finger food from a bowl. Just everybody wash your hands first. Before I get yelled at for that, wash your hands first, please. The real end message is the same as it always is. Talk to one another. Learn from one another. Even if you don't like someone's ideas, take a listen to them. You never know. It might